Alrighty, let's move in here to our IDE. And let's start with step one of adding a new method to the DAO interface. And we'll add this new method here, update, that takes in a student object. And let's move to step two of adding a new method to the DAO implementation. Let me expand my window here for a second. And let's allow the IDE to generate the method stub for us. I'll move down here a bit. I'll start off by adding the transactional annotation since we're actually performing an update on the database. And then I make use of this entity manager.merge. We pass in that student object. And that'll actually perform an update on the student. Alrighty, so this coding here looks pretty good. Now in step three, let's update the main application. I'll move down here to the command line runner section. I'll comment the call to the previous method. And I'll call this new method update student. And I'll pass in the student DAO. I'll write some quick comments to myself. Okay, so we basically want to retrieve the student based on the ID, their primary key, change the first name to Scooby, update the student, and finally display the updated student. We'll make use of the student ID of 1. And then we'll actually retrieve the student from the database by using our student DAO.findById. We pass in that student ID. It'll retrieve the student for us. Then I'll go through and update the student. I'll change the student's first name to Scooby. Set first name, Scooby. And now I'll call student DAO.update, my student. And actually I did this a little too fast here, a bit too early. Let me copy this line or cut this line and let's move it down a bit. So the update line, let's move it down to the update comment. Okay, that's better. Follows my comment flow that I wrote a little bit earlier. Now we can simply display the updated student just by doing a sysout line on my student. I'll stand back and take a look at everything, and this looks pretty good. This is all the code we need in place here for updating our student. Now let's go ahead and run this application and test it out. And excellent. So it says getting student ID of 1, updating the student, and then finally printing out the updated student. Notice here the first name is Scooby. Now let's go ahead and swing over to MySQL Workbench and let's verify this. Go to my student table, do a query, and success. This is great. Notice here, student ID of 1, the first name is now Scooby, and this matches with the actual code output that we had from our IDE. So this looks really good. I'm happy. Now let me swing back into my application and make a slight update here. I'll change the name back to John. So just quick updates here in the code. Be sure to save all that stuff and run it one more time. Here it says the first name of John, which is good. Swing back into our MySQL Workbench, run our query one more time. And great. So this kind of matches up with what we had. So you can see here we're successful in updating a student. We retrieved the student, made some modifications to it, and then we saved it to the database accordingly. This is really good. I'm happy. I like it. Good job.